Hi, my name is Valerie Neidhart, and I'm here to talk to you today about slowing and preventing cognitive decline in Alzheimer's disease. I wanted to start this off with why it matters. Some facts from the Alzheimer's Association um, show that Alzheimer's is the sixth leading cause of death in the United States. More than 5 million Americans have Alzheimer's. 1 in 3 seniors die with Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, and every 66 seconds, someone in the United States develops Alzheimer's disease. The photo I included is a picture of me with my grandmother, Nellie. She was the rock of our family, and she ended up being diagnosed and later died of complications of Alzheimer's. This is something that devastated our whole family. She was the rock, and just watching her go through that whole process was just tragic for all of us. So, this is why it matters to me. In the state of Maryland, there's over 86,000 people with Alzheimer's disease. The Greater Maryland chapter, which serves Western Maryland, where we live now, services 14,000 people a year. It is predicted that a fourfold increase in the prevalence of Alzheimer's disease will happen by the year 2015, which would affect 1.2% of the world's population. Studies that define cognitive decline define it as loss of memory. This isn't your typical not remembering a person's name, remembering it later. I think we all have that experience where we're at the mall and somebody comes up and, hey, how's it going? And you're like, I know this person, but I can't remember their name. And then typically once you get home, you remember it a few hours later. Or you misplace your keys or you can't find the remote. This is not the loss of memory they're talking about. This is referring to forgetting recently learned information, which is the most common sign of Alzheimer's disease. Also, forgetting important dates or asking for the same information over and over. Um, Being unable to trace your steps to find things that you think you've lost. Sometimes it even comes to people accusing others of stealing because they can't find things. The next definition is difficulty with language and performing familiar tasks. Difficulty, excuse me, difficulty with language is trouble following or joining a conversation. Sometimes people struggle with vocabulary or call things by the wrong name. When it comes to performing tasks, it's hard for the Alzheimer's patient to complete just regular routine daily tasks or manage at work, or they have trouble driving to a place that was once familiar. Disorientation of time and place. This isn't your typical thinking it's Friday, but then later figuring out that it's Thursday. It is losing track of dates and seasons and time and forgetting where they live or how they got there. Impaired judgment refers to poor judgment, poor decision making in things like dealing with money, or people that forget or don't care even about grooming or keeping themselves clean. Changes in mood or personality. The Alzheimer's patient typically will experience a lot of emotions. They can be confused, suspicious, depressed, fearful, anxious, easily upset, and they might withdraw from work or even social activities that they used to be involved in. The concerns with Alzheimer's patients are, of course, safety. All of the things that we just mentioned can create a safety hazard. Caregiver fatigue. You have families and caregivers who are caring for these patients that are declining cognitively. So it does create a stress and a strain on families. According to the Alzheimer's Association, that there are 15 million caregivers providing an estimated 18.1 billion hours of unpaid care, and that family caregivers spend more than $5,000 a year caring for someone with Alzheimer's. um, which also falls into family coping. You have families that now are in situations where they have to deal with loved ones that are suffering from the effects of this disease. The one thing that I found interesting, I guess, is because we focus so much on caregivers and families, is the coping of the patient themselves. I personally can't imagine anything worse than not remembering dates or not remembering my family or my loved ones. So I concentrated on the patient for this project. Studies that I've found all agree on a multidimensional approach to preventing this cognitive decline, and they include exercise, cognitive training, and a spiritual approach. And as you can see here, one study reported that physical as well as social and cognitive interventions can help strengthen neural pathways and preserve cognitive activities. Also, in another study, they said that 30 minutes of aerobic exercise 3 days a week help to prevent against cognitive decline associated with Alzheimer's. So this is something that's free. There's programs that we'll discuss later that people can get involved in, but this is something that you don't have to pay for that may potentially help slow down or even prevent the cognitive decline that's associated with Alzheimer's disease. When it comes to cognitive training, the reports show that mnemonic and other cognitive training can improve long-term memory, and that it's also shown that significant gains in episodic memory and cognitive function can happen when you use interventions that focus on attention, control, processing, and problem solving. And the picture I included here was just people playing cards. I mean, that requires concentration. It requires control, attention, processing, problem solving. And these are all free things. These fellas, I think, are playing bridge, it looks like. So bridge, board games, concentration games, anything like that is being shown to have good outcomes. Sorry. Social and spiritual interactions, cognitive engagement and stimulating activity by way of social activity and interaction. And some of the examples given were music, prayer, and meditation as primary preventative approaches. I recently saw a Facebook video that the lady was suffering with Alzheimer's and didn't know names or faces, and one of her caregivers came in and started singing a Bible hymn with her, and she remembered every word of that hymn. So there probably is, they always say there's power with prayer, so maybe with hymns also. My plan was to just provide education about the research and the resources available. There's programs through the YMCA, memory cafes, support groups, and online resources. The ALZ.org is the Alzheimer's Association website, which just has a vast amount of information for patients, families, caregivers, anything you can imagine. Volunteering and participating in Alzheimer's disease programs. I did have the opportunity to work with a Alzheimer's Association representative at a couple of health fairs, and it was very interesting and informative, and I thought very good for the community, where people are given a chance to come and ask questions and get information that they might not be able to find elsewhere. Also advocating for community programs to implement these findings. We live in a small community and there's not a lot of things available, so it would be great if we could get some more senior programs and some programs that are designed towards Alzheimer's and slowing and preventing the cognitive decline. So the goals were to have an increase in community programs and program enrollment. And the local YMCA here offers wellness programs, spiritual development, and even exercise programs for people 55 and older. The Silver Seekers program is one of those. And then an increased attendance in support groups and memory cafe meetings. The local memory cafe meeting is the fourth Wednesday of every month in Mount Savage. This is just an opportunity for patients and caregivers to get together and basically socialize. Sometimes you need the support of somebody else that's going through what you're going through to get through it. And I also listed some of the support groups we have locally. There's one at the Western Maryland Health System on the second Tuesday of every month, at the Allegheny Health Nursing and Rehab on the second Wednesday of every month, and at the Kensington Assisted Living in the library on the second Thursday of every month. I listed some references also. For my project, I wasn't able to carry this out. I went to a couple of support groups that were very poorly attended, as well as a memory cafe that was very poorly attended. So my intention is just to bring light to the disease and the problem, and hopefully be able to encourage. Thank you.